The aviation industry just had its most controversial year yet, and they're desperately hoping you don't notice. While airlines are posting record trillion-dollar revenues, passengers are getting hit with more fees, fewer rights, and bigger lies than ever before. From hidden fee wars to massive pilot shortages that are secretly causing your delays, the industry is in crisis mode. And the worst part? They're making you pay for their problems while keeping you completely in the dark about what's really happening behind those terminal walls. Today, we're exposing 12 shocking industry secrets that airlines have spent millions trying to hide from passengers. These aren't just minor inconveniences, we're talking about systematic deception. That's costing travelers billions of dollars every year. Some of the revelations are so damaging that industry insiders warned me not to make this video. But passengers deserve to know the truth about what's really happening when they fly. Hit subscribe because this information is pure aviation gold. And let's dive into the 12 flight industry secrets that will completely change how you think about air travel forever. The hidden fee war of 2025. You book a flight for $200, but by checkout, you're paying $350. Sound familiar? Here's what they don't tell you. The government just forced airlines to show baggage and seat fees up front, but airlines are fighting back with sneaky workarounds. They're creating new categories of optional fees that don't fall under the transparency rules. Studies show that fee revenue jumped over 30%, while regular ticket revenue grew at half that pace. Airlines are literally making more money from fees than from flying you places. The solution is simple, but airlines hate it. Always calculate the total trip cost, including all fees, before booking. Don't fall for that low base fare trick. It's designed to hook you before revealing the real price. This transparency battle is costing airlines billions in exposed profits, which is exactly why they're fighting so hard against passenger protection rules. The complaint explosion crisis. Here's what happens when an entire industry stops caring about passengers. In 2024, complaints against airlines hit a record-breaking high with nearly 70,000 official complaints filed. But here's what they don't tell you. For every complaint that gets officially recorded, industry experts estimate that 20 more passengers just gave up trying to get help. That means the real dissatisfaction rate could be affecting over 1 million passengers annually. The evidence is staggering. Complaints increased by 9% while passenger volume only grew by 4%. Translation: airlines are literally getting worse at customer service while flying more people. Here's what smart travelers do. They document everything with photos and timestamps, file complaints immediately, and know their rights before stepping foot in an airport. Airlines count on passenger ignorance and frustration fatigue. The harsh reality is that airlines view complaint handling as a cost center, not a service improvement opportunity. Until that changes, passengers have to become their own advocates. The plus-size passenger policy revolution. The airline industry just quietly rewrote the rules for larger passengers, and almost nobody noticed. Starting in early 2026, major policy changes are eliminating long-time protections that helped plus-size travelers. Here's the shocking truth. Airlines are moving away from accommodation policies toward mandatory upfront purchases. Instead of requesting extra space later, passengers will be required to buy additional seats during booking or risk being denied boarding. The evidence shows this affects millions of travelers. With obesity rates climbing globally, airlines are treating larger passengers as profit opportunities rather than accommodation needs. But here's what they're not telling you about seat sizing. The average airline seat has shrunk by several inches over the past 2 decades, but weight requirements for passengers haven't changed. Airlines created the problem, then started charging passengers to solve it. Smart travelers research airline seat dimensions before booking and understand policies up front. This policy shift represents a massive revenue grab disguised as operational necessity. The pilot shortage disaster. Your flight delays aren't about weather or air traffic control. They're about a massive pilot shortage that airlines absolutely don't want you to know about. Here's the reality they're hiding. The industry needs 800,000 new pilots over the next 15 years, but training programs are nowhere close to meeting demand. Current flight disruptions are just the beginning of a much larger crisis. The evidence is everywhere once you know where to look. Flight cancellations often happen in clusters at specific airlines, not because of mechanical issues, but because they literally don't have enough qualified pilots to operate their schedules. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. Airlines are flying pilots at maximum legal hours, cutting training programs to save money, and offering signing bonuses that prove how desperate they've become. The solution smart travelers use is booking morning flights when pilot fatigue is lowest and avoiding airlines with recent hiring problems. This shortage will get worse before it gets better, and airlines are hoping passengers never connect these dots. The aircraft delivery nightmare. Airlines are facing an aircraft shortage so severe that it's secretly driving up ticket prices. But they're blaming everything except the real problem. Picture this scenario. Passenger demand is exploding, but new aircraft deliveries are years behind schedule. Airlines are stuck flying older, less efficient planes while charging passengers premium prices for reduced availability. But here's what they don't tell you about aircraft delays. Manufacturing bottlenecks aren't just slowing down deliveries. They're forcing airlines to keep ancient planes in service longer. Some aircraft flying today first took off over 40 years ago. The evidence is hidden in plain sight. Load factors are at record highs not because demand is perfectly managed, but because airlines simply don't have enough planes to meet passenger needs. Here's what industry insiders know. Airlines are artificially restricting capacity to maintain pricing power while blaming delivery delays for operational problems they could solve with better planning. This crisis is generating massive profits while passengers pay the price. The sustainable aviation fuel lie. Airlines are spending millions on green marketing while running one of the biggest environmental scams in modern history. Here's the shocking truth about sustainable aviation fuel. Despite years of promises and green advertising, sustainable fuel accounts for less than 1% of total aviation fuel use. Less than 1%. Yet airlines are claiming major environmental progress. But here's what they're not telling you about their climate commitments. The industry promises net zero emissions by 2050, but current sustainable fuel production would need to increase by over 10,000% to meet those goals. It's mathematically impossible with current technology and investment levels. The evidence shows airlines know this. Internal documents reveal that companies are banking on future technological breakthroughs that may never happen. Here's what smart travelers understand. Green marketing language like committed to sustainability and environmental responsibility often means nothing concrete. Airlines are using environmental concern as a profit center while making minimal actual changes. The reality is that flying remains one of the most carbon-intensive activities individuals can engage in, the passenger rights rollback. In September 2025, the aviation industry scored a massive victory against passenger rights that almost nobody heard about. Here's what they accomplished in secret. A proposed rule that would have required airlines to pay cash compensation for flight delays was quietly withdrawn. This rule would have given passengers similar protections to European travelers who can claim up to €600 for airline-caused delays. But here's what they don't want you to know about this rollback. Airlines spent massive amounts lobbying against passenger compensation, claiming it would raise ticket prices. Meanwhile, they're posting record profits while service quality continues declining. The evidence is crystal clear. In Europe, where compensation rules exist, airlines have dramatically improved on-time performance to avoid paying passengers. Without compensation requirements, airlines have no financial incentive to prevent delays. Here's what smart travelers do now. They research airline policies before booking, purchase travel insurance for protection, and know that voluntary airline compensation is exactly that. Voluntary and often inadequate. The airport ATM trap. Every time you use an airport ATM, you're walking into a carefully designed money trap that most travelers never see coming. Here's how the scam works. Airport ATMs charge fees that can reach 10% or more of your withdrawal through hidden exchange rate markups and service fees. They're specifically targeting stressed, tired travelers who need cash quickly, but here's what they don't tell you about airport financial services. These machines are often operated by third-party companies that split profits with airports, creating financial incentives to maximize fees from captive customers. The evidence is hidden in fine print that most people ignore. Dynamic currency conversion, poor exchange rates, and multiple fee layers can turn a simple cash withdrawal into an expensive mistake. Here's what smart travelers do. They withdraw cash before reaching the airport, use credit cards for purchases when possible, and avoid any airport ATM that offers to charge in their home currency. This trap generates millions in revenue from unsuspecting travelers every year. The credit card benefits scam. Airlines want you to believe their credit cards offer amazing free benefits, but the mathematics tell a very different story. Picture this scenario. You sign up for an airline credit card to get free checked bags and priority boarding. But here's what they're not calculating for you. The annual fee, interest rates, and spending requirements often cost more than just paying for those services directly. Here's the hidden truth about airline credit card benefits. Airlines make more profit from credit card partnerships than from flying passengers on many routes. Your spending habits are literally more valuable to them than your loyalty as a traveler. The evidence is in the fine print. Free benefits often have restrictions, blackout dates, and qualification requirements that make them worthless for average travelers. Here's what financial experts know. Unless you're spending significant amounts annually and paying off balances completely, airline credit cards are designed to generate profit from your debt, not provide genuine value. Ghost flight environmental scandal. Airlines are operating thousands of nearly empty flights every year while lecturing passengers about environmental responsibility. Here's how this environmental disaster works. Airlines must use airport takeoff and landing slots or lose them to competitors. So instead of canceling flights with low demand, they operate ghost flights with minimal passengers just to keep valuable airport access rights. But here's what they don't tell you about these empty flights. Ghost flights generate massive carbon emissions while carrying almost no passengers, making them among the most environmentally wasteful activities in modern transportation. The evidence is flight tracking data showing planes departing with occupancy rates below 10%. These flights burn thousands of gallons of fuel to transport virtually nobody. Here's what environmental experts know. Airlines could coordinate slot sharing or temporary transfers to reduce ghost flights, but competitive concerns override environmental responsibility. Smart travelers understand that airline environmental marketing often contradicts actual operational practices designed to maximize market control rather than minimize environmental impact. The air traffic controller crisis. Your flight delays aren't random bad luck. They're the result of a hidden workforce crisis that's getting worse every month. Here's what's really causing those mysterious air traffic delays. Controller shortages at major airports are forcing reduced flight operations, but airlines would rather blame weather than admit the aviation system is understaffed. But here's what they don't tell you about controller working conditions. Mandatory overtime, high stress levels, and inadequate pay are driving experienced controllers out of the profession faster than new ones can be trained. The evidence shows up in flight delay patterns. Certain airports experience chronic delays not because of runway capacity, but because they simply don't have enough controllers to manage normal traffic levels safely. Here's what industry insiders know. Air traffic control is a highly specialized skill that takes years to develop, and the current training pipeline cannot keep up with retirements and resignations. Smart travelers avoid airports with known controller shortages during peak hours and build extra connection time into travel plans. This crisis will continue impacting flights for years to come. The baggage nightmare statistics. Airlines lost or damaged nearly 3 million bags in 2024. But the real scandal is how they're handling the aftermath. Here's what those baggage statistics really mean. Beyond the millions of lost suitcases, over 11,000 wheelchairs and mobility devices were damaged or lost, affecting passengers who depend on these devices for basic mobility. But here's what they don't tell you about baggage handling improvements. While airlines claim better performance, the statistics show that mishandled baggage rates haven't improved significantly despite massive investments in tracking technology. The evidence reveals systemic problems. Baggage handling is outsourced to lowest bid contractors who have minimal accountability for passenger property. Airlines profit from checked bag fees while transferring liability risks to third parties. Here's what smart travelers do. They photograph luggage contents before checking, pack essential items in carry-ons, and understand compensation limits before checking valuable items. The reality is that baggage handling remains the weakest link in airline operations, and passengers bear most of the financial and emotional costs when systems fail. There you have it, 12 flight industry secrets that expose how airlines prioritize profits over passengers at every opportunity. From hidden fee wars to pilot shortages to environmental scandals, The aviation industry has spent years perfecting systems that extract maximum revenue while keeping travelers completely uninformed about operational realities. These revelations prove that airlines view passengers as profit sources rather than customers deserving transparency and respect. Every policy change, every fee increase, and every service reduction is carefully calculated to boost airline margins while shifting costs and risks to travelers. Which secret shocked you most? Comment below and tell me about your worst airline experience that now makes perfect sense after learning these industry tactics. Subscribe for more aviation intelligence that airlines don't want you to have, because knowledge is power when dealing with an industry that profits from passenger ignorance.